Asia, Africa, and now right here in the USA. Watch us via Roku on your smart TV. Submit your own content to 1530entertainmentllc@gmail.com. Download the Millennium TV app from the App Store to stream our shows anywhere, anytime. Millennium TV.
Welcome to another exciting episode of Cap and No Cap. I am your host, Kevin C. Meggett. I'm with the illustrious Mr. Andy King, former city councilman, grassroots organizer, the man who's never abandoned his district. How are you, Mr. King? Good to see you.
Blessed and highly favored, and I wish you and the crew much success in 2022.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I haven't seen you since the New Year, so Happy New Year to you. So, we're in Black History Month, right? Mm-hmm. So there are a lot of things that needs to be celebrated. Yes. Actually, you just did something with Black. You do a lot for Black History Month. You know, a lot of people don't know. Mr. King also has his own television show called King Talk, which I've been honored to be on there a few times. But he does a lot in the community, tell me what you did with Black History Month.
I have a youth program, 15 years, and it's called the Bronx Youth Empowerment Program.
Yep.
And for your daughters were part, when they were 10 and 12, they were part of it. And
right.
God bless their soul that they grown up to be mature, beautiful young ladies. What we've done over those decades of work of helping our young people understanding their story. And what we do every February 1st is celebrate our history. And we talk about the people who had such an impact on our lives. Not just I don't want to disrespect any legacy of anyone, but however, when we start talking about celebrating our story, it's helping young people understand that Dr. King did a lot, Malcolm X did a lot, Harriet Truman did a lot, Tubman did a lot, but there were doctors, there were farmers, there were inventors that came from us to make America, the great America that was able to evolve as far as technology and how we, just the basic comb and the basic brush, the washing machine, the first heart transplant, all these were done by Black people. So helping our young people and people today understand that our story didn't start in enslavement in America. No. And that's where people get confused when we start talking about Black history. They start back into 1500, 1700 when slavery hit the soil, and then that's the history of Black people. No, right. We were great kings and queens, and had a civilization on the other side of the globe before we were enslaved and brought over here or dropped through the Caribbean and the four corners of the earth. So it was a wonderful conversation that we had with the students, but more importantly, we allowed the students to tell the story. So that means they have to do their homework, and they do a reading, and then they do poems, and then they speak the truth not only to their peers. So for the past 50 years, we've done it in Evander Child's library. This year was the first time we did it virtually. And it was such a success. Yeah, it was really a success. The young people did a fabulous job, and they held the technology themselves. I get in front of a camera, don't put behind the camera I'll mess it up. So they did the technology, they delivered well. I was grateful. They honored Carl Banks from the New York Giants.
Oh, wow.
For what he's done as a pioneer on the football field, winning championship and leading youth in play development. Also, the great singer-songstress, forever actress Melba Moore. Who everyone knows from.
Melba's, yeah, man.
She's a pioneer.
It's funny you say that. I just watched Behind the Music or something like that. And I was like, wow, her voice was just so rich and powerful. It's just, it's just unfortunate what greed does. you know.
Yeah, how she got ripped off.
Yeah.
But she lived the American music essence for blacks at a time where blacks were delivering and their stuff was getting snatched from them.
Right.
And she's still performing today and still can hold that note.
That's good.
So I was so thankful that the children were able to honor her, as well as Dina Gardner, who is the head executive secretary for executive assistant for 100 Black Men, and everyone knows the essence of 100 Black Men, what they mean to the black community as well. Dynamic sister who understands the black experience, and a good friend of both of ours, Congressman Jamal Bowman, who was the first black to ever serve the 16th congressional district. So we're grateful to have him, and you know, you can't have it.
It's funny you say that. I texted him last night just to see how he was doing. He's such a great guy, man. You know, I look forward to him being reelected. Honestly, you know.
Well, yes, and he should be. He should.
Yeah, he's doing a good. He's doing a good job. I mean, like him and I don't see eye to eye on every single issue, but that's okay. I mean, if we did that, he wouldn't be him. He'd be me, right?
So, hey, I agree with that. And I do want to say this: since it was a youth event, they did honor a young person.
Okay.
They gave the youth award to Layla Capers. For those of you who do not know Layla Capers is a 12-year-old Bronxite who stars in The Lion King on Broadway as
Yes, I've seen that young girl. Yes.
And she also this winter signed on with Hallmark and was in Hallmark's A Christmas in Harlem.
Nice.
So she's a Bronxite, so it was grateful to honor her. And it was just a dynamic afternoon for the students. They had a wonderful time, and everybody walked away with a smile, learning more than they knew before they cut their cameras on.
You always do great things in the community, though. That's why, you know, I always said you being a city council member wasn't, you just needed to be paid for what you was already doing. But you was already doing this work prior to becoming a city council member. Once you became a city council member, it's just like, well, I was doing this kind of work anyway. I was bringing resources and things like that into the into us anyway. So you know,
thank you for that.
No, thank you for not abandoning. I mean, most people after they serve, they leave the community.
Yeah, I've heard that.
I've seen it.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't want to put no one on Front Street. I don't have a reason to put no one on Front Street right now. But I mean, I've seen it with my own two eyes. You know. Let me see. I went to a celebrity charity event. It was called Lunch with the Champs. Rob Garris, the children's champ. Shout out to you, Rob. Children's champ was hosted an event for a lot of these champions. A lot of these champions are really not financially doing so great, bro. Yeah. So what he did was, I mean, like, I love this dude, man. He really has a good spirit in him. What he did was he got the like a VFW, a Post, and he booked out this place, and all of the tickets he gave to all of the boxes. Whatever they sold, they got to keep for themselves. So,
that was nice.
Yeah. So and they were selling like autographed pictures or gloves, so forth and so on. So I got a chance to meet Larry Spink. So I know Aaron Davis very well. You know, Aaron Davis is like family with me. So I mean, it was good to see him. But you know, it was just good to see that all of these people were able to get some type of income. You know, but yeah, I want, you know, I had a good time with that. I wanted to catch the Clarissa Shield fight, but I ended up just seeing the highlights of it. But I follow her so much. I love this girl. The only reason I think that she doesn't have the recognition of say a Layla Ali is because of the hue in her skin. She's dark skinned. So it goes to show you how America is still not only racist, but not only sexist, but racist first. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Because if she was light skinned and pretty eyes, pretty hair, you know.
You know, you say that when I watch women boxing, I rarely seldom see a dark-skinned woman in the ring.
I love Clarissa. Shout out to you, Clarissa Shields, if you see me. Big fan of you. I give you your props.
Kudos. Yes, definitely.
But we're gonna take a real quick commercial break. I'm gonna bring. I have someone that has a community workspace. I want to bring her on, and because Black History Month is really about creating community. You can't have a Black History without a Black community, right?
That's so true.
We're gonna bring her on. Her name is Miss Wendy Fong. We're gonna bring her on, and we're gonna talk. We're gonna chop up some good game. We'll be right back with Cap or No Cap. No Cap or No Cap. I'm really tongue tied. We'll be right back after this commercial break.
Millennium TV, bridging communities worldwide. We broadcast diverse international content from Europe, Asia, Africa, and now right here in the USA. Watch us via Roku on your smart TV. Submit your own content to 1530entertainmentllc@gmail.com. Download the Millennium TV app from the App Store to stream our shows anywhere, anytime. Millennium TV.
Back, cap or no cap. Kevin C. Meggett, Mr. Andy King. Before we went to commercial break, I was telling you about how you can't have a Black History Month without a Black community. First of all, I want to start promoting Black history on our platform. So I'm one of the very few people that still have a DVD player.
Don't worry about it. I'm with you too.
You do too. Okay, cool. We're good. So I want to give you this DVD. It's by a guy named Jay Black. It's called 7 a.m. And for those that don't have, go out and get it. It's a very good watch. I love documentaries. I want you to watch it, and perhaps maybe when we come back next week, we can actually talk about it, and we can share each other's thoughts on that. We'd
love to.
Outstanding.
Okay.
My mentors on there, Dr. Claude Anderson. So I follow Dr.
Yes.
Claude religiously. You know that. But I digress. Back to community. I have a guest. Her name is Wendy Fong, and she has a community workspace in Mount Vernon, New York. Now, why is that important? It's important because we're pushing entrepreneurship, but the entrepreneurship is political. It's been politicalized. It's almost like if America co-signs you, then it's good. But prior to that attitude, we were becoming self-made millionaires. The problem with that is we became so many. There were so many self-made millionaires that they said, no, you're only a valid millionaire if you go through our system to get it. And so what you're having now is a lot of the youth, they're saying, oh, why is unemployment still not? These kids don't want to work. They want to be entrepreneurs. So basically they have like 100,000 followers on Instagram, and they'll come out with a t-shirt or a hat or a pair of glasses. And if they even sold 10,000, guess what? That's more money than and I go to work every day. It's more money than what I see. But I'm gonna bring her on. Her name is Miss Wendy Fong. Miss Wendy, how are you today?
I'm well, thank you. Thank you for having me today.
No, thank you for being on. I know you have this workspace, this community workspace in Mount Vernon. Could you tell me a little bit about it?
Sure. The workspace is for entrepreneurs, as you mentioned. It's called the Forward Thinkers. And we're located in Mount Vernon, New York at 11 West Prospect Avenue on the 3rd floor. It's an entire building that is dedicated, it's over 10,000 square feet, and it's dedicated to loving business environment, shared offices, networking, and collaboration of our people. There's also, it's a state-of-the-art facility where it allows you to work individually as well as in a group environment.
That's amazing. What gave you this idea to want to do this?
Well, it's not my idea. I wish I could take the credit. I actually am managing the building that would at 11 West Prospect Avenue.
Okay.
So part of my responsibility is to get new members. We have over 100 members and we're growing. And when I say members, what we do is we offer the entrepreneurs an opportunity to have workspace and work virtually. So if they join at a low price of $70 per month, they're entitled to free Wi-Fi, unlimited coffee, virtual shared and permanent offices as well, mailbox handling and of their mail, a business think tank, a receptionist, desktop computer access for Zoom meetings, business class printers, 24/7 access to the building. And we also are very conveniently located to the Metro North, the number 2 train, and we're right across from City Hall in Mount Vernon, New York.
That's outstanding. Do you have how many young members do you have so far?
So we have over 100 members, and when you say young, young is relative, right? Because 50 is the new 40.
Well, yeah.
So yeah. So when I think young, I think between the ages of 20 and 35. Per
Okay.
se. So we have about, if I had to guess, because there's so many members, and they, like I mentioned, they actually live in Mount Vernon, in Westchester County, and other states. So overall, I would say about maybe 10 to 15%, but we're looking to grow, larger in the future. We also offer a podcast studio we have on the second floor. So we're hoping that a lot of younger people come in and utilize the podcast studio. The studio is ready to go. You just come in and do your thing. We charge $25 per hour to set up, and they can have their own podcast show.
Do you have technicians that run the equipment as well? Does it include that?
Yes, we do. Yes, yes, we do.
This is amazing.
Yeah,
This is really good.
that's nice.
We also have networking. We have networking events, regional events, business workshops. We offer the whole thing, everything, the whole kit and caboodle. Everything is all included for that low price of only $70 a month, and you can become a member, and you can have your own. We have a multi-purpose room where we actually hold events in often. This past December, I had a toy drive, and Jamal attended. I heard you mention him earlier. Yeah, a lot of the politicians attended, and they support our community from Mount Vernon. Mayor Sean Patterson, she also was there and presented. So we're all very interconnected with our community within Mount Vernon. We all support one another always.
And it's weird because I'm a digress a little bit. Mount Vernon, in my humblest opinion, because we've lost Harlem due to gentrification. We lost most of the South Bronx due to the same thing. They actually coming up north too. We lost a lot of the South Bronx as well, as Brooklyn as well. And so, when you look at a lot of these urban cities that we culturally had a connection to, where we've been gentrified, not only out of the space, but our culture is now being gentrified. And I said, if someone had a vision, if someone had just a vision, because we could create another Harlem Renaissance in Mount Vernon, because it's still predominantly a black town.
Yes, it is. And Mount Vernon is not sleeping on the fact that we realize our value. The mayor speaks about it often. We realize our value. We have 3 train stations, the Metro North, in our small town of only 4.5 square miles, and we protect our town by any means necessary. We make sure that any developers that come into Mount Vernon, that there is something that we're getting out of it. Maybe it's a community center, maybe it's parking lot, whatever it is, skate park, whatever it is, we are on top of it. We're not going to allow anyone to take what's ours and what we've been holding on to for so long.
And that's really good to know, because I think in New York City, the city council there dropped the ball, and what's happening is when you erect these new housing developments, they only slate, correct me if I'm wrong, what is it, 10%, 20% towards what we would call affordable housing?
And depending on the deal, some can go to the average medium income, and some can go for 5%, 10%, and it depends on how many units are in the building, but it gets negotiated. But most of the time, it's negotiated so the developer will still want to develop. Many times I sat in the room, I said, you're a millionaire 2 times over, 3 times over. how about giving the community something as opposed to still trying to make another million on the deal? How about just making 200 grand on the deal and let the community survive on this one?
Right.
So I appreciate your system, and I appreciate the mayor up there, and I've known the mayors, and I know the space. I've been in the space at 11 Prospect.
Oh, you have been?
Yeah, I've been in there.
I've never been there.
A few times.
I will be though.
Yeah, definitely. So I appreciate you and what you're doing up in Mount Vernon. And I was born in Mount Vernon Hospital, even though I lived in the Bronx. But I was born in Mount Vernon Hospital. I couldn't tell my mom I couldn't wait to get back to the Bronx. I was like, no, I got to come out now. I got to see the world now.
Well, I went to school in Mount Vernon as well. I mean,
yeah.
So I mean, that's why I know the history is so rich. It has a very rich history.
Yes. Saying that all people lead back to Mount Vernon. I can meet people all the way in Long Island, and somebody knows somebody in Mount Vernon.
That's right.
All ties lead back to.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely, and it's a wonderful place, and you feel like you are at home. Remember years ago when you would go to Harlem and you felt like this is where you belong, like you got a real sense of home.
Oh yes.
And I don't feel that anymore, but nowadays, when I'm in Mount Vernon, I feel it all the time. I feel the sense of community, the sense of caring. I actually, right now, I'm interning. I have 6 interns through a program called West Hab in Mount Vernon. And these are young people right from Mount Vernon that we, as a local community business, we provide internship to them, guidance, and teaching them how to be professional, how to come to work on time, and try and give them guidance from our own, encouraging entrepreneurship to them as well. So this is how we do it in Mount Vernon. It's a wonderful place to live and raise children.
That leads me to a question I did want to ask, and you kind of touched on it. Mount Vernon High School, and how are you interacting with not only the high school, but even the Boys and Girls Club, to have the kids come in and learn about the technology of doing podcasts and doing their own shows? How does that work for you?
So for the high school has its own program. The Board of Ed, of course, is separate from us. It's very difficult for me to physically go into because of COVID and Omicron and everything going on. We haven't been able to develop a solid relationship, me personally, with the high school, but I have spoken with some of the counselors there and just given them information to let them know that it is available. With the Boys and Girls Club, they have their own program called the YES program, Young Entrepreneur Program, that leads until the 11th grade from, I think it's 9, 10, and 11th graders in entrepreneurship. And they actually, at the end of their program, they give them money to start their own business. So we have let them know, let them come on over to us once they're all set. Yeah, right. And they give them the steps. It's maybe an 8-week program, and it gives them the steps to become an entrepreneur.
Oh, they're doing outstanding work.
That's excellent, yeah. A lot of times you get these internships or apprenticeships that lead to nowhere but to a certificate, but there's actually some place to go after they get their degrees and complete these programs. So thank you, sister. Appreciate that.
Miss Wendy, real quick, do you have a website? What's your website? What's your contact information?
So for the Forward Thinkers, we have a website which is www.forward-thinkers with an S at the end.com, or you can call 914-363-9299, extension 102.
And give us that address again.
We're also on Facebook. 11 West Prospect Avenue, 3rd floor in Mount Vernon, New York, 10550. And yeah, we also have a Facebook page too, as well as an Instagram page, The Forward Thinkers.
That's outstanding. Listen, I plan on coming there more sooner than later. Are you going to be? I know you're in transition right now, but are you going to be back on? Are you going to be in Mount Vernon tomorrow? That's how soon I'm willing to come and see you. You will be.
9 a.m. We'll be there at 9 a.m.
Okay, so
24-hour building.
That's right. I want to come in. I really want to look because I work a lot with veterans, and I'm trying to galvanize the veterans in Westchester, and that might be a good place for me to do it. So I look forward to coming to see you. Thank you so much for being on the show, and travel safely. And we would love to bring you back on the show at a later time.
Sounds good to me. Thank you for having me, and happy Black History Month.
Thank you so much. Just hang on. We're going to take a real quick commercial break, and then we'll be right back. Just stay on until we go to commercial. We'll be right back. Cap and no cap.
All right.
Millennium TV, bridging communities worldwide. We broadcast diverse international content from Europe, Asia, Africa, and now right here in the USA. Watch us via Roku on your smart TV. Submit your own content to 1530entertainmentllc@gmail.com. Download the Millennium TV app from the App Store to stream our shows anywhere, anytime. Millennium TV.
Cap and no cap, Kevin C. Meggett, Mr. Andy King. Hey, what they're doing over there is really, Wendy Fong is doing over there, that community workspace is amazing. I really want to get over there.
Yeah, and it cut costs when you're first starting out, or if you do just have a CBO or community-based organization you're trying to put together and you just can't cover the large rents, but but able to take care of some administrative work. These community workspaces really hit the nail on the head.
And it's great, man. They're forward thinking. That's what I would love to see that in our district. But I guess I'll save that for another show because I need for my city council member to jump on board and become a little bit proactive. Who is he? Kevin Rowley, right? Yeah,
yes, sir.
So Kevin Rowley, if you're watching, you need to take some notes over in Mount Vernon. They're doing some good things. We need to bring that in our district, bro. I digress. So, what's going on? What else is going on? Reverend Dr. Cabrera? That's his name, Cabrera?
Yes.
What's this whole big thing with city council and him? Like they're like not wanting to give him a job based off of his religious belief. What is that?
It's a sad state.
Uh-huh.
And it boils back down to our new mayor. And I remember when we were talking about Mayor Adams, when he first got elected, and COVID was going crazy. They were trying to figure out rules of engagement. And I mentioned to you that he still has to and I pray that he recognizes that he's a mayor for everyone.
Right.
You cannot be a mayor for some sect. You can't be a mayor for special interests. You can't be a mayor for those who got a seat at the table against those who don't have a seat at the table. Different thoughts, different process. The city of New York is a mosaic. It's a beautiful mosaic with different ethnicities, different spiritualities, different religious thinking, and ways of life, which has built the city. And everyone's agreed on every given day to say we're all going to be in sync on this. On any given day, we can be out of sync on it as well. But what I've learned, and Dr. Reverend Fernando Cabrera is a good friend of mine. He was in the council for about 11 years.
Okay.
And as the mayor is putting together his team, he was looking at Cabrera, and as I understand it, Cabrera was pretty much vetted already for the position. Okay. To be part of his mental hygiene team, which was known before as NYC Thrive, which Mayor de Blasio's wife was running it. So, but what Dr. Cabrera does, that's what he does. He's a counselor. He teaches, he's a professor at Mercy based on mental health.
Right.
So about in 2014, I remember when this all happened, he went to visit Uganda, and the country there
in Africa,
and that country does not support and believe in same-sex marriages. Their whole thing is conventional marriage, man and woman. So he stood with the country, which you should do, and as a pastor, and the scriptures tell you about man and man relationships and women and women relationships. Right. So as a pastor, that's where he stood. I remember when he came back, oh man, the LGBT community, they went after him. They just said all kind of not nice things. So as we fast forward today, Cabrera has been now denied the position that was going to be offered. It was rescinded based on the advocacy of the LGBT community denouncing what he did back in 2014. The crime for that is that now you're telling people that you can't even earn a living based on your religious views or your freedom of speech. I mean, if you're not out there killing anybody with your religion, with your words, but hey, as a pastor, as a doctor, and the saddest thing that happens is that it's not even about the man's qualifications. They're saying and this is what I'm hearing, that it wasn't even about his qualifications, about how dare Mayor Adams move forward with someone who said something was against the LGBT community. And
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, but I'm like, how do you first of all, nobody should have that much power. And second of all, no one should be able to take away food out of somebody's mouth. And everyone's supposed to say respect everyone's spiritual and religious beliefs, which is in the Constitution and all the amendments of our rights. So how do we get to a space and place right now that the Bible doesn't matter anymore? The words of Christ no one cares. No one, the Quran doesn't have any value, because that's the direction that this world is going in. Anytime someone exudes their spiritual and their religious beliefs, that they get ostracized if it's not in the framework that I believe, and I call it the devil's work, that says it goes against everything that I say and that I do. And I say to our mayor, and I say, there's been a lot of people who've prayed for Mayor Adams because we knew what he was walking into. Those people have offered up genuine prayers. They open up real prayers. Our mayor has to accept those prayers and understand that he's dealing, and as we always say in scripture, you're fighting principles against principles and principalities in high places. So you're in high places right now. So this wickedness is going to come at you at any given moment.
Right. And
you have to recognize that, hey, listen, I got to put on my armor of God and my spiritual warfare to fight off this, because I know I'm not going to be able to fight it. But, you know, if this is the direction that the city is going, then the city of New York is not for everyone, because that means there'll be a select folks who will be able to stay here. There'll be a select folks who can believe in what they want to believe in. There's a select folks who will only earn a living because of what they believe in, what they tell you to believe in. Because right now they just told the mayor that this is what you have to believe in order to have people to work for you for the city of New York. And it's a sad day. I'm praying that, you know, he finds his way through this and stands strong and say, hey, listen, I'm hiring the best qualified people who I believe can help me do the job.
Has he buckled under this pressure yet? Or has he?
Well, hey, listen.
Well, we don't know.
If he just rescinded Cabrera, who's qualified.
He did buckle.
Yeah. So I'm praying that somewhere along the line, something is found, there's an awakening, that we just don't strip the essence of people's ability to live and earn a living based on whatever thought process they have as an individual, which they should have the right to do so. You know, so where's New York headed? You know, everyone's going to run to another state if this is the way that things are going to occur. When the quote unquote, the power factions inside of government, the power factions inside of City Hall, the power factions of the world says, no, that doesn't go with the agenda, ostracize them, kick them out. No, they don't have access. Well, that's not fair for the person who truly, genuinely is qualified.
This is my take on it. So I'm going to go back to the LGBTQ community. The white LGBTQ community, as far as I'm concerned, is one of the most racist organizations to exist. We think, and they tried to cancel Chappelle and they couldn't. But Chappelle was on point with what he said.
Right.
They are very racist, and so they're not asking for. This is just my humblest opinion, man. They're not, and I'm entitled to it. And first and foremost, he needs to get some kind of lawyer, like some kind of because they're violating his constitutional rights.
Constitutional rights, civil rights, all kinds of rights.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like you have the same way gays are supposed to have rights. It doesn't mean that heterosexuals don't have rights.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
So true.
And you know, I mean, like you know, I'll shoot from the hip, then straight from the lip, right?
Yes.
Gay people need heterosexual people, Mr. King. You know that, right?
True.
Do you know why?
I do, but I'll let you tell it.
Because they want to make more gay people. And so we're not asking for tolerance. They're looking to dominate. And there's a difference.
Yeah.
There's a difference between let me tolerate and be inclusive to let me dominate, and this is what you're superimposing.
Right.
And an agenda, and really young black men, particularly and especially foundational black young men, are vulnerable to this because now they're normalizing pedophilia. Pedophilia is trying to find a letter in that LGBTQ.
Wow.
So what are we doing here?
Yeah.
This is just backwards thinking. Can we move forward and be inclusive and tolerant and all these other, they kill me. We're supposed to be foundational black Americans, and not just with the LGBTQ, but just across the board with every group. We're supposed to be tolerant. What are the words they use? Tolerant, diverse, inclusive. And what we're doing is we're diversifying, including, and tolerating ourselves out of a picture that we rightfully belong in.
I'm glad you brought that up. It's Black History Month, but what does that actually mean? Because Black History, our story, is 365 days of the year. Without us, the world would not be what it is today. Clearly.
And this country wouldn't either.
In this country,
we built this country
it wouldn't be.
From scratch.
Exactly. So
let's be clear.
I ask everyone, especially our young people who are out there, and I've had conversations with teens, and because the blended community, the blended conversation is a way I truly believe to blend us out of existence on any given day. So I tell everyone, because we are the only set of people who's always asked to downgrade our existence for the upgrade of somebody else's existence.
I'm not doing that.
But we're not doing it. But
anymore. And then we're looked at as hostile. We're looked at as I've been accused of being xenophobic, and so I'm not. For the record, I'm not xenophobic. You know what I mean? Like because I see a black man. Hey, brother, we're black.
Right.
You know what I mean? I don't know if you're Jamaican. I don't know if you're Trinidadian. I don't know if you're Dominican. You know what I mean? You let me know that.
Right.
So who's ostracizing themselves away from who, and who's really xenophobic? You see what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And once you do that, you've lost me forever. We're not on the same playing field.
Right.
You know what I mean? Every group of people have their own tribe. My tribe is foundational black Americans. And I'm not gonna let no one punk me or shame me into being what I'm proud to be.
Right.
I'm proud to be who I am.
Right.
And shout out to all my family in Charleston, South Carolina. I love y'all.
Well, I'm hoping that you know your worth, you know your value, you know your history, you know your lineage. A lot of young people today, a lot of older people just don't know when it comes to quote unquote the black race, because we've been labeled black here. But for you talk about quote unquote the Russian or the European or the Croatian or the Italians, they can tell you where they double back to. And they're strong in that faith on any given day. You let a black person get into their strong faith outside of the month of February, it's a war and it's a fight all the time. That's the problem that I see in this country and in this world. And the discrimination is so clear within its rules, its regulations, and its engagement, and how on any given Saturday or Sunday, they call it out when they want to call it out. And when they don't want to call it out, they act like everything is okay until it's time to bring you on the carpet. And then we try to figure out Black Lives Matter and what happened to the Black Lives Matter movement when all the, I call it for it, all the Caucasians went back to their comfortable living. The blacks were still left in the neighborhood that they were still fighting and struggling in.
And I want to be clear, it's not, because sometimes I get misunderstood. And so I'm not anti anything. I'm not anti immigrant. I'm not anti gay. I'm pro foundational black American. There are some outstanding people that have migrated to America that have stood and marched with Dr. King and stood strong. And, I'm not trying to negate the fact that they've participated in our, the advancement of what we are doing under the blanket of being black. Now, what I am saying is when we push the reparation issue, because I'm gonna keep the needle on the record. You know what I mean?
Yes.
A lot of them are quick to say that we don't deserve it, and they're not qualified to speak to my experience.
Right.
They could go back to Jamaica, Haiti, the Dominican Republic, and talk what's good for them. But you cannot tell me what's good. These are the White House was built by slaves. We built this, not just this country, every city. You know what I mean? We act like slavery didn't exist in New York. New York City has a horrible history as it pertains to slavery. If you ever walked in the Village in Washington Square Park, you're walking on a cemetery.
Yeah.
They just paved over it and made it a park. So I mean, remember we had the sister who had the African cemetery in Brooklyn that she tried to save.
Yes.
There are a lot of those. There's some in the Bronx.
Yes.
On Hunts Point and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So we didn't just build. Let's kill the fact that we just built this. You know, slavery existed just in the South. You know, you have a whole plantation in Long Island called Sylvester Manor. There was slavery in the North. Once upon a time, the largest plantation of the original 13 colonies wasn't in the South. It was in Brooklyn, New York. Yeah. So I digress. We're going to take a real quick commercial break. We get into these. I mean, I'm always glad when you're here because, you know, I was saying when we were off on the commercial break, how you offset me when I'm by myself. I just rant, man. I sound like a lunatic, you know. But I get to have to, you know, balance out my opinion. But we're going to take a real quick commercial break. Cap or no cap. We're going to come back and chop it up. We'll be right back.
Millennium TV, bridging communities worldwide. We broadcast diverse international content from Europe, Asia, Africa, and now right here in the USA. Watch us via Roku on your smart TV. Submit your own content to 1530entertainmentllc@gmail.com. Download the Millennium TV app from the App Store to stream our shows anywhere, anytime. Millennium TV.
Cap or no cap. Kevin C. Meggett with my special guest, Mr. Andy King. We talk about how you know, black people deserve more. I mean, reparations should never even be an issue. Like I'm so past. What's the study of reparations called? That bill that. What's her name? Miss Jackson. Oh man, what is that bill called? The study of reparations. It's
it's called the study of reparations.
No, that's ultimately what it is. And a congresswoman down in Houston is actually spearheading that.
Okay.
What is that? What's the name of it? I forgot.
Well, we'll move forward.
I digress. But you know, black people we're being the new Jim Crow, as we know, Mr. King, and it has to be called out, is gentrification. Gentrification is the number one problem and silent killer of black people, particularly and especially foundational black Americans. So I don't know what reparations look like. What we don't need is a study. The test is, we've passed the test. We've built this, but cities like Yonkers, they're being displaced at an alarming rate because they're being gentrified at an alarming rate. And the mayor, what's the mayor's name down there?
I believe Spano.
Mayor Spano.
Spano.
Mayor Spano is probably one of the worst people. He's in bed with all of the gentrifiers. He's a racist. Shout out to Styles P. Maybe I'll get him on the show eventually because I know him and Styles. They throw jabs at each other. Styles. Maybe you may want to run for mayor. I think you have the hip hop will definitely get behind you or in front of you, and I want to bring Rodney C from the Funky Four on. I love that brother because hip hop is grown now. So hip hop's got to start doing grown things.
Yeah. So true.
But back to this guy, Mayor Spano. He's a racist. He's displacing black people due to gentrification. Andrea Cousins is just sitting there with a muzzle on her mouth. She ain't saying anything. And, she ought to be ashamed of herself. Is she foundational black?
I believe so. I believe she is.
You think she is?
I believe so.
I don't know. I really don't know.
I know she's
but then again, when you look at foundational black Americans, what's that justice that that Biden had tapped? Was looking to put on the Supreme Court?
The sister?
Yeah.
Oh, I forget her name. Excuse me, but yes.
I wasn't. Was you excited about that? Because I wasn't.
But I was told a long time ago. But you have people who are qualified, and then and when it comes to blacks, you have people that white folks jump up and down for. And if white folks are jumping up and down for you, got to be careful.
and that's my point. That's my point. And it's crazy because I'm not judgmental on the mayor.
No.
But that was one of my key issues with the mayor is like, wait a minute, white folks love you, so I need to watch you? But so far, again, I'm not going to agree with everything he does. He inherited a mess.
Yes, he did.
De Blasio was, talk about a competent, he was very incompetent. And he inherited a mess. De Blasio left him a mess. And I bet you, when he finishes his term, he ain't gonna talk ill about him now because you know how politics are.
Yeah.
But he left him a mess. He probably said, what did he do for 8 years?
Well, there's a lot to be said when it comes to government and politics, and no matter of your hue, that we're still talking about a system that has allowed the number of us who are people of black, brown, whatever we want to call ourselves, have been able to get a seat at the table, be part of the game. But unless we actually manage the rules or create the rules of engagement, we are still caught up in an oppressive politics.
Right.
So what do I mean by that? This last Black History, my granddaughter brought something to my attention in regards to, and I can't remember the name, how you pronounce it, but before I'll Google it and look it up. But what it did was it said it's in the Constitution that a black person would be let free if they did something to save the lives of a white person. And I never knew that ever existed.
I know what you're talking about.
And I never knew that existed, but when I realized how
that was a law.
And when I realized how some
Manumission, it's called Manumission something.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Wow. We'll Google it as we're speaking, and we can share it with the essence of time. But what it's literally designed to do is tell the black person you're free. We'll take care of you if you watch out for a white person.
In fact, it's 3 things that you could get that Manumission. I forgot what it's called. It's invent something that white people can get wealthy off of. Save the life of a white person.
You get your freedom right.
And you get your freedom
right there.
And this holds true today. They never changed this.
Well,
and the third one is inform white folks when black folks are plotting
Right.
against them. So you have monuments in this country. You have statues of black people in this country, and the only thing that they've ever did was tell on white people. Like, they may have put a statue up for the person that told on Denmark Vesey down in South Carolina. You know what I mean? So they reward. This is your reward. We're gonna,
Right. So you think about when you start talking about the world of politics today, or you're just talking about everyday interaction, how many of us today, whether they consciously do it or subconsciously do it, will not support or stand up with their black colleague or their black neighbor or their black friend, because the press, and let's call it, we didn't create the system. It was created by Massa and the rules of white men back 340 years ago. They brought the rules of engagement together. So I'm not going to be faulting every white person I walk and get myself in front of, but I understand the system that was created to give you a leg up and says, I got a leg down.
Right.
So, and then that means, Dr. King said it best, at the end, it's not that we remember the words of our enemy, but the silence of our friends. So, but people who are quiet, when you see another black person getting dogged out, you don't even say anything, or you will turn somebody in or stand with the quote unquote the white essence, so you can have flavor and favor.
It's interesting that you said that, right? Because all of the people that were hung in the South, other people walked past them. You know what I mean? Like, to the point where, I don't know.
Well, you say that, and I know you've gone through some stuff, and I know I've gone through some trials and tribulations. And I remember when I was going through my trials and tribulations, remember the movie 12 Years a Slave? There was a point in time where the main character, they were trying to hang him, and he was on his tippy toes trying to survive. And I used to create I said, that's how I felt when I was going through it, because all the Negro slaves were just walking past him, like doing the laundry, carving the fields, while he's dangling from a tree.
And you found out who your friends were.
Yeah, I'm like,
because when that happened, I said, whoa, wait a minute. Mr. King belonged to my tribe. Y'all ain't gonna do this to him. And I started calling them out simultaneously, every last single one of them. And until this day, and I don't mean to digress, Mr. King, but none of them have, for all the things you was alleged to have done, there is still no criminal charges to support not one thing that shame on city council, man. Like, this new city council is the worst, man. New York is going to hell in a New York City's going to hell in a handbasket, I'm telling you.
Well, we watch the rules of engagement, and as you learn more and you grow more and understanding the story of this country, that while the clock might have changed, the spirits come back and do the same. So this is a reality what we're managing and living in right now.
And even going back to Reverend Dr. Cabrera.
Yes.
You know who needs to have so city council did they come out speaking against it too?
At that moment in time?
Yeah.
Yeah, there were members who threw Cabrera underneath the bus.
Who's the speaker for city council?
Now is Adrian Adams out of Queens.
Okay, well, Adrian Adams needed to tell everyone, y'all need to sit back and just let them two duke it out. You know what I mean? It has nothing to do with city council. Is he qualified for the job? Right
now, oh yeah, he's qualified for the job. When that all happened in 2014, some council members had a lot to say. Right now, I haven't heard anything of this council commenting on it. But the LGBT community was the one who put the pressure on the mayor's administration to say, hey, listen, this guy shouldn't be because of something he said 2014 was 8 years ago. So while it wasn't wrong what he said, but people have the right to say something, and everyone has the right to agree or disagree.
It's America. This is what we. And speaking of which, I'm starting to see how things really work. You know what? I see a lot of what happened to you that happened to Cuomo, because case after case now is being thrown out unfounded.
Yeah.
They just wanted him out the paint, him and Chris.
Yeah.
And if Chris Cuomo was smart, did they fire him from CNN?
Yeah.
Chris, you need to start your own little podcast. If you can hear me, I would start my own podcast, and I would be unapologetically, have me on there. I'll be your co-host, Chris. I'll show you how to do it. Me, Kevin and Chris show. How that sound? Okay. And we can bring you on as a special guest.
That'd
right?
be very interesting.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask him a whole bunch of, because I'm noticing that none of these charges are now sticking.
No,
and,
nothing there.
And
Nothing
this, what's this? Forgive me, but what's the new governor's name?
Oh, Kathy Hochul.
Kathy. She looks like Thriller, bro. Like, she doesn't even look real to me. I just, you know, she really pushed that whole agenda going forward of, you know, we need to mandate these vaccinations. You had a bunch of people that had to get vaccinated just to be gainfully employed in the city of New York, and I thought that was so wrong. And then when it got overturned, you don't hear anyone talking about trying to make that right. You know, that was a crime, man.
Yeah.
You ostracized people and said either you vaccinate or you starve. You ain't gonna get no unemployment. You probably could go on welfare. That's a hell of a thing to say to someone.
Yeah, I'm baffled. I'm really baffled at that someone's brain thought that was okay. But again, I go back to the oppressive rules of society. And again, we fight in principles and principalities in high places. And when a higher spirit of demonic forces hit, you know, and you can't have good without bad. You can't have bad without good.
What's sad though is that the church has actually been complicit in doing these vaccinations, and I don't think this is why you had the separation of church and state, as far as I'm concerned, so that they couldn't. I don't think.
Well, they didn't separate them now.
No, right. They're merged. They're united.
Merged.
But this is why separation of church and state was supposed to have been. There's no way you should be getting government funding to do so. I mean, take Planned Parenthood, for instance. Mm-hmm. Margaret Sanger, right? Margaret Sanger was a Hillary Clinton's idol. And that's why Hillary Clinton lost, because Margaret Sanger was a eugenicist, and she has said, and she practiced not only, and this is what racism is when you could say something and then put it into practice. She said, black people are weeds that need to be exterminated. And then we got Planned Parenthood. You know, this is where abortions came out of. But do you know what Planned Parenthood was called before it was called Planned Parenthood?
Talk to us.
The Negro Project. And what Margaret Sanger did was she went to the black church, talked to the black pastor, and they pushed abortion to our community. So now we're wondering why foundational black American numbers are dwindling. Look at how many people we've killed. Now, of course, if there's rape and incest and stuff like that you may, you know, that's, I'm not opposed to maybe having an abortion. Who wants to have a rape baby or an incest baby? And those things are, we need to talk about in our community too. It gets brushed under the rug.
True.
But prior to that, Procter and Gamble, these are eugenicists. These are people that were doing experiments to hurt and try to get rid of black people. They just don't know how. Yeah.
Well,
Kellogg's, your favorite cereal?
Kellogg.
Kellogg.
Yes.
Kellogg was a doctor, and he was a eugenicist. They ran together. They were Three the Hard Way.
Oh, wow.
That was the original Three the Hard Way. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, the story of this country, if people actually learned how these companies were formed, where their funding came from, systems were ran, it just didn't start in 2019, 2022. You got to go back hundreds of years. And I'm not talking about 500 and 600, because you talk about America's a baby within itself, or it's a time span, talking about less than 200 some plus years. So let's think about it. You know, you put companies together back in 1800. You're talking about slavery, and you're talking about civil rights. You're talking about the viciousness of white aggression on the black in this country. You can look back 60 years ago.
See, they try to run with this narrative that slavery was so long ago, right? But the last living slave that was able to talk, and you could Google this as well. I forgot the brother's name, but you can Google him. He passed away in 1975, 1970. That's my lifetime.
Yeah.
So let's talk about how old was slavery again?
That's right. You're going back no more than 100+ years.
He died in my lifetime.
Yeah, yeah.
So how long has it been really? Let's stop, man.
It hasn't.
America, cut a check. And shame on the Biden and Harris administration, because y'all want black people to mule for you, and foundational black Americans are willing to put Trump back in office before they mess with you. And that's a shame. You know, y'all better fix it and make it right. But we're running out of time. You know, I want to thank Millennium 24 for giving me this platform to talk. You know, we're on Roku, we're on Apple TV. We're on social media, Millennium TV 24. Download us right now, Millennium TV, on your devices and your tablets. And we'll be back next week. You gonna actually watch this 7 a.m.
I'm gonna watch this, and I recommend everyone watch this. And another CD I would ask you all to watch called Eyes on the Prize. And the kids and I, youth are gonna be watching it. To learn a little about what happened in the civil rights movement and get a real clear understanding of how we are today, so you can really understand the rules of engagement. So when you're making out there making decisions, whether you black, whether you white, that you know the truth of how things were happening. If it wasn't for media, that some white how blacks were getting treated in the South, who knows what today would look like if it wasn't for the camera. So I thank the documentary of Eyes on the Prize. Is a 4 CD compilation, so you get a chance to get it, watch it. Yes, it is very good.
And so not only that, we'll be back next week. And look, we're looking for advertisers as well. You know, advertise with us on Millennium TV 24. Rates are low. We're all over the world. Shout out to everyone that views us all over the world. It feels good to be able to have the opportunity to talk to you, and you could get another perspective. So until next week, cap and no cap, Kevin C. Meggett. Hopefully Mr. King could join me, because he's busy himself. So I get him when I can, and we'll be back. Have a good night.
Good night.